Admiral Jana. Could you please shed some light on the evolution of India's maritime strategy since independence?
Most certainly. In fact, I would rather go back even further because India was a very proud seafaring nation for thousands of years. And indeed, we reached the apex of our maritime power somewhere around the first century of the Common Era under the Guptas, and if you collect
The Cholas.
Emperor Ashoka. Yes, Cholas came much later, but Emperor Ashoka's expeditions to spread Buddhism to Sri Lanka, to Southeast Asia, as far afield as Japan. And then subsequently, seafaring empires of India, and you mentioned Cholas rightly, they flourished till almost the 15th century CE. But what really happened was that after the 5th century, the advent of the Mongols from Central Asia, India's attention was gradually diverted towards the continent. And finally, when the Mughals came and established the Mughal rule in India, being Central Asian people, being continental people, they really did not have much concept of maritime power. And therefore, really, when the Europeans, first led by Vasco da Gama, arrived off the coast of India in 1498, interestingly navigated by a Gujarati navigator from Africa, there was really no maritime power to oppose them. And therefore, gradually, the Europeans saw their chance. They then started controlling the spice trade. They then started setting up trading posts. And as you're aware, finally led to the colonization of India. And K.M. Panikkar, who was one of our foremost maritime thinkers, had written in 1948 that India never lost her independence till she lost independence of the seas around her. So when we started off after independence, really in 1947, we were a very small brown water navy, as we call it, with a few coastal ships. Unlike the Indian Army, which the British had developed into a 2 million strong army for the Second World War and the First World War, the Indian Navy was not developed. It was a deliberate move because the British, Great Britain at that time, controlled its overseas empire through the seas.
Yes.
And so the Royal Navy was the uncontested super navy of its time for almost 2 centuries over the seas. Until, of course, the end of the Second World War and then the decolonization process started. So as I was saying, when we started off, we were a very small navy, but the plans that were drawn up right from the beginning, from 1948 onwards, the first five-year plan that was drawn up for the navy was very ambitious. It, in fact, saw the need for about 6 to 7 aircraft carriers and supporting ships for the Indian Navy. Then envisaged the Indian Navy to be a sea control navy with a large fleet of sea-going ships, blue water ships as we call them. And that vision has subsequently been carried forward over successive years till to date. So essentially, if you talk about India's maritime strategy, it is of sea control. And sea control is a strategy followed by stronger naval powers, as opposed to the strategy of sea denial, which is followed by weaker powers, who then concentrate only on submarines and such forces to deny the seas to the others, whereas the sea control navy has submarines, of course, but it also has aircraft carriers and other ships to control the seas around it. So we have, in short, our strategy has been of sea control. And we have built up our force levels in that sort of mold. Though we have, to be very frank, never really achieved the kind of force levels to support a full sea control strategy as we would like. But that's been because of the economic realities. The navies are expensive. But I'm sure that as India goes ahead and becomes, one of the foremost powers in the world, we're already the 5th largest economy, shortly slated to be, over the next 7-8 years, the 3rd largest economy. I think more resources would become available for us to build us up into a truly sea control.